be and are law to them,
What do
whether
they
they
say?
want it or not.
What do they say? Sweep around your own back door.
More like don't shit in your own house.
You know, the views and events expressed here are totally whacked and are not necessarily the views of anyone.
Choose your destiny.
Don't shit where you sleep or eat.
It says people with mental illness are 16 times more likely to be killed by police. Brave New Films posted this. It says armed police officers should have nothing to do with helping those struggling with mental illness. One of the comments before I play this, it says, it'd be great if cops weren't allowed to be judge, jury, and executioner. Let me play this.
You promised you wouldn't kill me.
Law enforcement don't really have the proper knowledge or maybe the manpower to deal with people with mental illnesses.
Whether we like it or not, police officers have become the first responders to mental health crisis in the neighborhood. So we were seeing like people living with mental illness were being locked up because of their mental illness.
Matthew Ajibade died at the Chatham County Jail. He suffered from bipolar disorder, was injured, handcuffed to a chair, and tased.
LAPD officer shot and killed 25-year-old Ezel Ford Jr.
My son was a good kid. He didn't deserve to die the way he did.
Family of Tanisha Anderson maintained she would still be alive if Cleveland police had treated her as a person with mental illness as opposed to a criminal suspect. The police department had not properly trained officers on how to deal with individuals with mental illness.
2 weeks after 37-year-old Natasha McKenna smiled, she was dead.
You promised you wouldn't kill me.
Law enforcement don't really have the proper knowledge or maybe the manpower to deal with people with mental illnesses.
Whether we like it or not, police officers have become the first responders to mental health crisis in the neighborhood. So we were seeing like people living with mental illness were being locked up because of their mental illness.
So the thing is, you know, our system can't really deal with this and doesn't have any political will to deal with it. It's like, you know, how they criminalize homelessness and they criminalize mental illness. You know, like I said about the hammer, you know, everything's a nail when your main tool is a hammer. So, you know, they don't even want to deal with these people. Like, and I do have a bit of sympathy for police in these situations because, you know, like we're putting them in positions to deal with stuff that they, you know, don't have the training or will or knowledge or give a fuck to really deal with. Like, you know, I think they have too much on their plate, you know. We need to. This goes back to defund the police, which again is a bad branding. But
moniker.
We need to have the system different when it's a mental health call. We don't need to have some beat cops to show up to deal with it. It needs to be someone else.
Well, and you know, and like I think we've discussed this many times. I mean, it's okay if they come and back up a situation, but they should not. If they, you know, they should not lead in that type of you know, interaction. If you know, then if they don't really know how to handle those situations. I mean, it's a possibility that, you know, hey, you know, we want these people off the street just as bad as we want murderers and thieves and this, that, and the other. So if there's a interaction with them, I mean, so be it. I mean, they're being trained to deal with people a certain way, and you know, regardless, I mean, the result in some of these cases end up being death to the citizen. When, you know, I mean, a lot of people believe that the serve and protect was meant for the people, but that's still that's mostly to
property.
The corporation, the corporations. Well, no, the people are still considered the property. So I mean, if somebody owns that property, or it can be considered to be owned by the state. You know what I'm saying? So when you have living property, this is how you deal with them if they're not, if they're somewhat off of, I don't know the right terminology I should use, but like when you're dealing with somebody with mental health issues and they're erratic, I guess you could say, the first thing is the cops are obviously, some punk asses because they get too scared of a 5'2", 105-pound woman. You know what I'm saying? Like they're afraid of this woman and without a weapon, but it's at some point you start to believe that they were trained to deal with it the way that they have. Just kill them.
It's definitely something related to training. And then you have to think about pay, because like Doc was saying in the other show about how these guys aren't, it's like, and like people on their jobs, they're like, I don't get paid enough to deal with this shit. And there goes my sympathy with the cops, because it's like, man, I don't get paid enough to deal with this. This is too much for me to deal with. Man, I'm just going to freaking handcuff them and lock them up or whatever the hell. And if they end up dying, it's like
not smart enough. Most of them are not smart enough to understand what's going on the mental level, because they haven't.
It's the quote that they say is like, if he dies, he dies. You know what I mean? It's like, and the part where you were saying like upstanding citizen, like I think that's what you were trying to look for, like a person who pays their taxes, a person who goes to work, has a job, a person that can just simply comply and understand the orders that they give, because that's what people say all the time, just comply. But in this situation, when someone is having a mental health crisis, they may not even be capable of complying. They may not be able to understand those commands. It's not getting through.
Yeah, and they're probably more. A lot of times, I'm sure they're more fearful of the police, and they're trying to talk to them, and they want the victim beforehand is trying to have trying to talk with the police so that they can be understood, because that's most of what the being misunderstood goes, goes
ways.
hand in hand. I'm just saying it goes hand in hand with someone who has mental illness. They feel misunderstood. They want to explain whatever is going on in their head, but instead of somebody trying to talk them down, which we used to have, like the training used to allow for that.
I think that if someone's having like a mental health crisis, I think calling the police is like the worst freaking choice. The worst decision to make. Like, oh my God. And I know that sometimes people and property could be, in danger or whatever.
If someone is in immediate physical danger, yes, you have to do what you got to do for the safety of people around. But yeah, there should be an alternate number to 911 to call. I mean, when it's not some 6'2" dude wielding two katanas, butt naked, oiled up, on PCP. I mean, that's a cop call.
Well,
and if not, I'd really like to see some mental health care workers take care of that. They could do pay-per-view for that.
Well, I'm gonna tell you. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen the examples of when cops have some extreme times, sometimes when they really are like overly understanding, because and I hate to pull the race thing, because I mean in a lot of these cases it's a white guy that has damn near beat the cop up or have done different things, and he's still living. He goes to jail for all of the insane things that he's done. But then on the other side, there's times when it's a black guy, black woman, or whatever. Mostly, I say black guys and he's dead, and he hadn't even tried to make any attack on the cop, the officer or whatever. So it's some of these things get to look a little weird sometimes, and you know, like I said, I hate to even go there because I mean, but that's what it looks like to a lot of us, is that they have more patience with, you know, I guess the lighter side of our society than the darker side.
Yeah, but this story right here is focusing on the idea of the mental health. It says
Well,
50%.
as a whole, yeah.
Yeah, 50% of the deaths are people who are going through a mental health crisis. So,
Yeah,
like,
but that's about 60% of the friggin' country right now, thanks to the last 3 years, too.
hey, man, that's a very good point, and that's what I've been saying. And that's why it's scary, because we really need to work this out. It really needs to be on top of the agenda for something that needs to be looked at and changed. So many people are going through mental health crisis. It keeps happening over and over, and then people call the police because some guy is freaking out. They're having an episode. It shouldn't be that somebody just had a mental breakdown and then that means that they're dead now. That should not be the case for 50% of the freaking situations. That's
shit, man. I'm madder at the world now at the age of 54 than I was at 18 when I found out that I just lost my free ride to college.
And I agree with you. I'm angry as hell, and maybe it has to do with being more aware of things. That's one of the things I wonder. Maybe as we get older, we become more aware of the world. And then
man, we were locked up. We were fed a bunch of bullshit. We were turned against each other. We're upset because some of our best friends that we've known for 10 or 20 years won't even have anything to do with this anymore because, we liked some guy for president more than another one.
Yeah.
Or we just wanted to say, hey, man, maybe he isn't that bad.
Yeah. And this crazy world that we live in is driving this mental health crisis, and you feel frustrated, you feel helpless, you feel lonely, you feel like there's no hope, you feel like there's nothing you can do about it, and it causes mental breakdowns. You use drugs.
We still have people driving around in their own cars by themselves with a mask on.
Oh my God. I mean, I agree with you on that. They're so insane.
I mean, how scared are they?
And they get to those places and people really accept them as normal.
So insanity.
No, I'm of a, if you want to wear a mask or don't, that's your call. I mean,
yeah, of course.
I'm good with it now. But if you're wearing it in your car by yourself, you're hurting my brain. Well, if I see you jogging down the sidewalk with a mask on,
yeah,
I'm thinking your brain's hurting.
And it is. And it is because of all of this stuff that they've done to us. All the lies and all of the confusion. And then let us look at this. Here is that article right here that y'all mentioned just a minute ago. NPR, as its only remaining elected officials depart, Haiti reaches a breaking point. So it says